Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to have a look at Caps' TF. So I haven't covered that many roaming champions yet in like VOD reviews or playing, and also I haven't done my roaming fundamentals yet. So I figured it'd be good to take a look at kind of like a roaming champ, and maybe that can help like explain a bit more for you guys that do play roaming champs. Here's some runes on the screen here for you. Decided to take a look at Cap specifically because he's been playing really well lately, obviously 3-0 the finals. Thought it'd be kind of a disservice to not take a look at one of his games. This is kind of interesting. We've got a Twisted Favors Talia matchup. There's definitely going to be a lot of pushing back and forth. We can probably skip a little bit further ahead here into the action, but there's probably some stuff in here in this game that we can go over about like when you should roam, and like what kind of things you need to consider. And hopefully this can be kind of like similar to the ones I did ages ago. I can kind of be like a include or whatever to some of the other to like a full fundamental video basically. So starting out versus Talia is going to be kind of hard to get the push. Talia is very good at pushing, at least at level 1. Not as good as she used to be though, to be fair. But this is actually fine. One thing is TF is like, to be honest, you don't actually mind that much about pushing in the early game, and I'll quickly explain that. So generally, like, pushing in the early game is so you can win your lane, right? But TF kind of lacks the tools to win his lane anyway. So the other reason is that you could push for prior, but TF can't really roam pre-6 either. The only thing he could really do would be like roam to a skirmish in the river. But generally what's going to happen is TF is you're instead going to set up ganks like on your own lane. So TF actually doesn't really mind what happens with the wave in the early game. It's not like other champions where you really need a 3-wave crash, where you really need to pull the wave. Honestly, you can pretty much just match your opponent. This is kind of a rough situation though. TF normally does kind of get bullied a little bit, although he played it really well there. I think, actually, I'm just going to quickly go back to this. So one thing that you guys like need to be like really looking out for, and I've kind of said it before in my laning video, but when someone blows all their cooldowns on you like this, so like Talia just W'd and Q'd, right? It can be a little bit scary, and maybe you don't want to trade back because you just took a lot of damage, but actually if this sort of situation happens, like where they've just used all your cooldowns, you like have to trade back. You really just like have to try punish them, because if you let people just like walk up to you and do that, they're just going to do it again basically. And obviously it's a like free opportunity for you to get a little bit of damage, even though like damage on TF, like on the enemy mid lane, it doesn't really convert to anything. It like helps kind of like defend you, you know. It's kind of like best defense is a good offense, you know. If you punish them every time they try to do something to you, it makes them less likely to do stuff to you pretty much. So right now things going pretty standard, although he hasn't dropped a ward, which is a little greedy I would say. Although his like current wave, like where his wave is right now, he is like really safe from ganks. And also he hasn't really had a great opportunity to go in ward, so I don't really mind that he hasn't warded yet. It's actually probably smart that he hasn't warded yet while his wave is in that situation, but I think he should probably drop a ward on the bot side now if he doesn't know where Volibear started. I actually didn't check where Volibear started, so it'd probably be on the bot side just because that's where Udyr is at the moment. And I mean, I didn't check where he started. Okay, so he is forced to flash. Could that have been avoided? I feel like, yeah, you can definitely avoid this. To be honest, even without the ward bot side, if you knew, oh, this guy actually did 3 camps. Okay, I see what happened. So looks like Volibear started red. We can actually see it on the minimax. We got the God Vision, and he did 3 camps. So yeah, that's kind of surprising, because also the way Caps was hugging, like you'd expect Volibear to be here from now. So I actually think maybe it was just greedy by him regardless. I mean, he should just like kind of have a ward by now, but yeah, anyway, I think that was a flash that didn't really need to be burned, and that is sort of punishing because playing as Volibear with no flash, that ward should be a bit further out, but honestly it's fine. It covers the entrance. Yeah, actually I think it's fine. Got a lot of people here now, which can help him get his wave in. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he gets punished for this no flash versus Volibear. It also means he won't be able to use his flash aggressively to like flash gold card someone. But it's not too bad versus Talia. Like, she doesn't have guaranteed gank setup, so it's definitely not as bad as it could be. The push this wave in and looking for a base. I think this is pretty good. Looks like it's a cannon wave coming next. Yep, it is. He's probably... Oh, okay, he actually cancelled it. So I think he's going to demat the cannon here, or maybe do another range creep. I think... Okay, I'm pretty sure the reason he stayed here, by the way, is because if you look at Udyr right now, Udyr is like moving into the enemy jungle, right? So if Cap's bases, because you can't TP to creeps anymore, and you can't like TP to anything, actually there's not a tower like before 14 minutes, he kind of has to, well, he just like, if he needs to get back to lane, he has to TP to that tower, right? And that's so far away from Udyr. So if he doesn't cancel his base right now, like Udyr, that guy, He's not using his brain. He's just gonna invade no matter what. So I think Caps is kind of forced to stay here by that, and it was actually a good adaptation by him in the moment to what his jungler was doing. Because if that had like gone into a fight, he kind of really would have needed to be there. And like you could maybe make the argument that like Udyr shouldn't invade if Twisted Fate needs to base, and I think that's perfectly correct. But it's solo queue, and you can't really like trust people to do the right thing, so you kind of just have to roll with the punches, sort of thing. But this is kind of good. Like him and Udyr are actually based at a similar time, which means their pressure is going to be really synced up on the map. I guess the tier 2 boots, which is a really good buy on TF, obviously. The movement speed is very, very nice for roaming. And in general, like against champs like Talia, skill shot champions, where you can dodge like the W, for example, the movement speed becomes very valuable. So looks like he's going to go for a roam here. So I'm going to quickly explain what things I normally consider when I go for a roam. So the first things I consider are like the wave state. So if we look at the bot lane, like we can't see because the camera's not panned there, but it looks like the wave's perfectly in the middle. But like if the wave's under their tower, they're like really hard to gank. If the wave's under your tower, they're probably pretty easy to gank. If the wave's in the middle, it's like not really either side. Another thing to consider is like what gank setup there is. So like in this matchup, it's like Karma versus Janna. So there isn't great gank setup. I mean, there's a little bit, like Karma can slow into the root, but it's not like an Alice. There's not like a Nautilus, stuff like that. Another thing to consider are the sums. So in this case, hopefully Caps knows, like sometimes people don't communicate it in chat, right? But let's just assume Caps knows that Janna's missing both sums and Sivir's missing exhaust. So this is actually fairly good from that point of view. They are missing 3 sums, which makes them quite vulnerable. The only bad thing about that is like generally when you roam to bot lane, you really need to kill the ADC because you want to stop them from farming. And ADC still has Spell Shield and Flash, so she's going to be a bit hard to gank. And probably the last thing that you really need to consider, other than like your wave, but we've already like talked about that so much. Well, I guess I'll just say it again, like you make sure you push in your wave before roaming generally. But the last thing is where your jungler is. So like, obviously if you know where their jungler is, things get a bit easier. But if your jungler is like on the opposite side of the play, it can be quite difficult to make something happen. Just because like if their jungler shows up and yours isn't there, it's going to be a 3v3 at best. So it's just an even fight. Sometimes though, if they're mid laner followers, it can become a 4v3. So in this situation, like all things considered, I don't think it's the greatest roam. Like Udyr's not here. The sums are still up on like the most important target. The wave was pushed in though, but let's see just like how the roam kind of pans out. Okay, so it comes down here. Looks like Sivir actually didn't have Spell Shield, so it was down, and it did get Sivir's Flash. So that's nice. Volibear's here to counter. Let's see, I think, okay, no, one of them's dead. Okay, so honestly, it sort of sucks because Zeri died. Yeah, I don't think it was the greatest roam, but Udyr is here now, so they might be able to like salvage something off the back of this, maybe get 1 kill or something. Kill this Volibear probably, and then that's it. Okay, Udyr. Oh my god, he went crazy. Okay, so they're actually gonna get 3 kills right now. Okay, that went crazy. So I think, wow, that was pretty insane actually. I think the initial roam wasn't the best, but it was like good decision making off the end of it, especially by Udyr actually, to come and clean that up. But yeah, so that was kind of like what I think you should consider in roams. And I think if you look at that, like the start of the roam, like you can see, right? The start of the roam did not go well at all, and it was actually kind of lucky for Caps that Udyr came there. But that being said, like TF is a champion where you can take kind of like lower percentage roams on, just because you're not as reliant on like snowballing your own lane and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go back because I was like talking and didn't quite realize how this happened. Okay, so we could... Okay, so this is actually quite a complex death, in my opinion. Okay, so if you see on the map, he's got the pink, and that's going to cover him because they know Volibear's not in the bot river, and Volibear doesn't have like a wall jump, right, other than his ult. I guess he could flash a wall, but... so he is safe from ganks here, if as long as he hugs the bot side, which right now he's like doing so. But the problem, I think, is here. Okay, he sees Volibear, so he could immediately run back, but to be honest, even... Like, okay, if you see Volibear here and then you hug up here, if you're no flash versus Talia's flash, you just die. So I think no matter what he does here, he dies unless... I'm pretty sure the mistake here was he needs to clear this back wave with his Q recognizing that Talia with flash and ignite advantage can kill him. To be honest, this is really, really hard to recognize. I think I would have died here for sure. But if you're like really, really good, you could recognize that you need to be like really safe, and Talia has a lot of threat here. So that's kind of a rough death because like Talia gets an all-important kill and gets a shutdown, and like you're off the map for a while. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really blame him that much for that death. I think, I don't know, maybe if you play really safe, you can avoid it, and if you like really recognize it, you can, but that is really hard to recognize, I think. Mainly because like Talia mid is not played super often, you know, like you don't really have the same like awareness of say Talia's limits as you might, you know, LeBlanc or something like that. At least I don't, and I assume Caps doesn't either. So comes back on the map, has a lost chapter, also has 3 points in Q, so it's going to be able to kill the wave pretty easily and look for roams. So it's kind of like it's a really good spot to be for TF. Even though he died, I'd say he's still in a pretty good spot. Can probably like push out and like look to make a play with his jungler. He still has ults, so that's really nice as well. Let's see. I'm gonna push this in. You gonna have another look at bot lane or what? Let's see where he goes. Okay, so actually gonna go head mid. I think this is smart. Like the bot lane looks like they're really safe under their tower. Poppy is full HP, can't really be ganked, so it's actually nice there for him not to roam. I think that's actually one thing you guys should think about is you don't need to overforce roams. You need to like take. You need to go for good roams basically, right? Like playing a roaming champion doesn't mean that you just roam off every single wave. It just means that like you can capitalize on good roams better than other champions basically. It doesn't mean you go for bad roams. Interestingly here, you put 2 points in W. I'm actually not sure how common it is. I feel like most TFs max Q and then max W, but I have seen this before, like 3 points Q, because that's like the point where you have like a significant amount of wave clear and can clear the waves in like, you know, a reasonable amount of time. I'm actually interested to see if that was a mistake or if he is just going to commit to it. Could be kind of interesting. This honestly might be common on TF now. I'm not too sure because I don't play a lot of TF and I also don't watch a lot of TF VOD, so I might just be out of the loop. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. So at the moment, just like trading waves back and forth, kind of waiting for a roam opportunity to come up. Looks like he's having a look at bot lane here. Is he going to go for it? I think he's going to go back to this mid wave. It'd be kind of greedy to roam right now because the mid wave just met, right? And it's a cannon wave. So if like you roam here, you lose a cannon wave and you lose a plate. So it's like, unless your roam is worth like, you know, 400 gold or so, it's like, you're not even going to get anything out of it. It's just going to be like literally an even trade. Okay, so he is committing to the W max second. Pretty interesting. Definitely got to try that. Okay, so going for roam here. I'm actually going to back this up real quick. Okay, so let me explain here, like just straight away, why this is a way better roam. So first off, maybe you guys can't see because like the YouTube thing's in the way, but Udi is like right on this Chromecast thingy here. So basically, if we look at our checklist before, we know where the enemy jungler is. He's on top side, and our jungler is close to the play. Also, if you look at their sums, this time Sivir has no flash. Remember, if we're ganking bot, it's like ideally to kill the ADC. So basically, like it's like way better this time. They're like lower on HP, they're missing sums in the right member, and you have your jungler nearby. So here, okay, actually goes for the Janet as well. Okay, I think it would have been the safer play to go for the Sivir, but I kind of like what he did. I don't know if he did it on purpose, like if he realized that they could almost kill both of them. But either way, like it's pretty good. I probably would have just gold carded the Sivir and assumed she didn't have spell shield, but you know, if you can get extra damage, that's good. So that was a really good roam. That's like really important. If you remember early in the game, I think Zeri was like maybe like 25 CS to Sivir's 40 or something. But now she's actually up in CS, mainly because of like the bot pressure applied. So gonna walk out of base to top here. I guess he just kind of has to catch this wave because it looks like Tryndamere is getting like run off the tower by Volibear. That's kind of funny. It looks like Trynda's getting taken for a walk right now. I wonder if he gets out or not. I think he actually made it out. But did lose a lot of CS top, but Caps is going to be able to pick that up. I actually want to kind of bring another thing up here is that if you oh, hold on, let's wait to oh, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. One thing I kind of want to let you guys see or like show you guys is that just because you have a roaming champion does not mean you have bad CS. This is something I see so often. Champions like TF and Galio Fizz, there's a lot of champs that are good at roaming that actually have like really good wave clear and farming abilities, and that's like they almost like when I see low elo players play them, and sometimes even high elo players, they just like don't use this fact at all. Like it shouldn't be that you like. I don't know. It's actually like how should I put this? I'm kind of struggling to explain it, but I feel like most people when they play a roaming champion, they just like spam roam so much that they fall so far behind that they just become completely useless. I think Poppy just passive ordered a minion there. But it's really important that you, when you play a roaming champion, that you do stay up in CS, that you do still like try farm a lot, because if you don't, you're basically relying on whatever lane you roamed to carry the game. Whereas if you keep your CS up, it's basically like you or the lane you roam to can carry the game. So it gives you a much nicer like safety net, I guess. Like if you're one of those players that has like 50 CS at 10 minutes, but you have like you've impacted the map a lot. To be honest, you're kind of putting the game in your team's hands, which is not something I'm super comfortable with, and not something or not the way I think solo queue should be played in general. And you'll see here, right? Like he's got 4 KP, and he still has like really nice CS. So it's definitely, you don't have to choose one or the other, and that is definitely like a big mark of like a good roamer, is like assessing what roams are good and making sure you don't like fall behind in CS while like roaming, I guess. So I feel like not much has happened for a while. I mean, he walked top and died, but kind of whatever. The nice thing about when you get this kind of like when you get your one item on TF is it becomes really, really easy to clear waves. And as you can see, like the quicker you clear a wave, the more time you get to spend pressuring the map. So a champion like TF that can clear waves and roam is honestly just quite OP. Okay, so porting on the Sivir. Okay, she spell shielded, so just Everfroster. Okay, new TF combo. That was so funny. I wonder if he... No, actually, I don't know. It was just funny. Everfrosted in outer space, but did sniper with the Q, so pretty well played. Also looks like he's going to be able to get this tower. This is super, super nice. And another thing that I think is really underrated about a lot of these roaming champions, like Galio, TF, Fizz, etc. A lot of them have really good side laning, and that's because they can get to team fights really quick. So like TF, for example, can definitely like push the side lane. He has like high wave clear, and he can easily get back into the kind of thick of things with TP or ult. I don't know if the VOD's lagging or I'm lagging, but looks a little laggy there. Gets that kill on Talia, which is pretty nice. Obviously, if you like all this time, Talia wasn't farming the mid wave, so I think there would have been a much safer play for Talia just to push that wave mid rather than walking bot and then like dying like that. And honestly, that is kind of the difference, like between Talia and Twisted Fate this game. Like not the champion so much, I just mean like the players. Like if you look at them, Caps has played like the roams way, way better. Also, sorry about the subscribe thing, guys. It's on the video I'm watching, not on mine. But basically, yeah, like Caps has played the roams way better. He's taken way better roams, and also he's just like up way, way more CS. Like he's up what 30 CS? Yeah, up 30 CS and like a lot of KP. So that's really, really nice from him. And especially because I think at one point Talia was like 1-0-0 after solo killing him. So it's pretty impressive. Especially because I think like this is not something crazy. And that's something I try and like let you guys know a lot, is that a lot of this is just strong fundamentals executed to a really high level. There's nothing like crazy. I don't think there was any like crazy mechanic this game. Nothing that was too like arcane in terms of like map movements or anything like that. It's just really, really solid fundamentals, and that's why I really recommend building up your fundamentals, because it's stuff that happens every game. Like if you try and improve on things that don't happen every game, like for example, let's say you get really good at playing like Baron dances or something, like yeah, it helps you win some games, there's no doubt about that. But does a Baron dance happen every game? Probably not. I wouldn't say so. Maybe one in every like 3 games? I don't know. It still happens like frequently, right? If you take something maybe even more infrequently, like let's say how to play out like a split map situation when it happens at level 1. How often does this happen in solo queue? Maybe like 1 in 10 games. So anyway, like if you practice this and you get good at these things that aren't like that aren't super common in games. They just like don't apply a lot of the time. But the fundamentals, they apply every game. There is always a laning phase. There is always farming. There's always a side lane. There's always team fighting. This stuff happens every single game. So if it's something you improve on, if it's something you practice, you get better at it, and it impacts every single game. So here, just like getting back to the game, Caps is moving up mid. So he pushed in that bot wave, and then he's going to catch this mid wave as well. So he's going to get a lot of CS here because he just farmed 2 waves. Looks like the top fight was kind of lost, but it doesn't look like he could have got there in time anyway. So we could go back bot, or we could go top here. Volibear's pretty low, so he's probably going to ult on him. Yeah. Okay, so Volibear gets killed. I think he just farms his wave. Okay, he's actually going to go for the kill. I don't know if he can kill him. Do you have the damage? Oh, he has the CC. He actually is going to kill this guy with like 15 auto attacks. Okay, respect that. I think I probably would have missed that kill. I didn't realize he had so much damage in there. Okay, so that was really nice, actually, what he did there. So he managed to... That was like really efficient from a macro sense. He farmed bot wave, mid wave, and top wave, like all in a minute. And that's like, I'm just like harping on about it, right? But this is like the kind of roaming macro champions, even like Pantheon, stuff like that. They give you the tools to kind of cheat macro. Lots of people talk about stuff like TFO Galio as cheating macro because like you don't have to just like roam off a wave of priority. You can just like roam at any time. And a lot of the time that does mean that you can create extra tempo for yourself, which you can convert into more pressure or into more farm. You can see here, definitely converted it into more farm. If you look at the difference between him and Talia right now, he's up 2 levels and like 50 CS or 40 CS or something. Yeah, 40 CS. Actually gonna get out here, I think. That Volibear doesn't do anything. Yeah, that Volibear is... Okay, that guy's just inting. Gonna push in this wave again. Did Talia flash? No, she didn't have it. Okay, so probably gonna look for a base here, I imagine. Okay, this is so greedy, but I like it. Okay, I guess the reason... Is he gonna greed one more? I think he might be able to. Because he has Udyr next to him and Volibear's dead. Okay, anyway, what he did was pretty greedy. Okay, so he actually has 3 items at 17 minutes, which is pretty nuts, honestly. I think TF, when he has these 3 items, is actually, like, insane. Like, TF doesn't do much damage for the first 2 items, but once he gets his Lich Bane and he has the Rapid Fire, he actually starts putting out some pretty crazy damage. And again, like, he's able to get these, like, items so quick. By having a lot of KP and by having a lot of farm, like, that's no secret to anyone, but making sure you can stay efficient is super important. And actually, I would say maybe even more important on champions that don't pick up kills easily. Like, if you're not very efficient with farming on LeBlanc, for example, like, yeah, okay, it still sucks. And, like, if you want to be a challenger LeBlanc, like, yeah, you've got to farm, right? But a lot of the time, you could get a lot of kills and just get gold that way. But on TF, it's normally pretty unlikely that you get gold through purely, or, like, just through kills. So you're going to need to have, like, a good macro sense, good macro fundamentals, to make sure you stay relevant in the game. Pushing another wave here, quite like this. Feel like he has enough vision and he has both sums. Oh, actually. Okay, no, he's fine. Okay, so he did that. He had both sums. He was really safe. He had a lot of vision. And yeah, he's actually, this is really impressive. Ahead of the clock in CS is TF. That's like pretty nice, honestly. It's like much easier to get ahead of the clock in CS if you're playing something like there's just something that farms quick, you know, your Rises, your Lucians, Victors, stuff like that. But a champion like TF, it's actually quite a bit harder because one difference maybe that TF has to those champions is he doesn't do jungle camps very easily. So he can't like accelerate himself beyond the clock very easily. But he does have kind of the ability to make sure he continually picks up waves. You can see every time he pushes in the bot wave, he looks to lean his pressure towards his team. That's because he doesn't feel safe enough to hit the tower. And that's fair enough. There isn't much control in this bot side jungle, so he's just going to look to kind of lean to his teammates instead. TF at this point in teamfights is actually so disgusting. You've got like a long range point and click stun, and it also does tons of damage. It's just, yeah, if you get to this point in TF, like where you've got 3 items and you're like not behind, you know, like if you hit 3 items at 50 minutes, doesn't really matter, but like 3 items at 20 minutes, pretty insane. Actually, he had it a bit before then, right? He just got aced. Gonna come back down on this bot wave. I actually think he will probably take the Krugs as well before resetting, or he might try to take the bot tower. The bot tower is pretty low, it looks like on the minimap. Okay, Zeri's going to take the Krugs. I think he gets his bot tower and then probably looks for a base. This can be a huge chunk of gold given over to him. So, yep, goes for the base. Oh, going to stay one more wave. Okay, no, does commit to the base. So at a base here, we'll probably just deploy mid. There's no point deploying bot because the wave's too far away. Or he could do some jungle camps, actually. Kind of curious what he buys. Okay, he actually upgraded the full Zhonya's. Sort of interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure what's best there. I guess, like, it's good to make sure you never really have a chance of dying, right? Like, there's really no chance the enemy team wins the game unless you die a bunch of times, so smart decision, I think. TP's on the map, we'll probably take these Raptors. I actually really like that he TP'd on the map there. I think another thing that a lot of players, even high-elo players, do too much is they actually hold their TP too much in the mid-game. There's like a lot you can do with the TP, right? Like you can go for flanks, you can use it to get to team fights, you can use it to increase your farm. But too often I see people just like holding out for that like really big flank on champions that don't really need it. So a champion like TF, he already has his ult to get to fights, right? And on a champion, say, like Syndra, you don't really want to TP flank. Whereas if you're a champion, say, like Kennen, it's really important to hold your TP, or a champion like Vlad. But a lot of the time when you're on these mages, you just want to like use it to accelerate your farm. You just want to like TP back on the map in the mid game. Or if you're on a roaming champion, you kind of have an ult that gets you to team fights anyway. So you don't really need to commit. You don't really need to commit to holding your TP. You can just use it to again like accelerate your farm. Their ultis here. This helps get the enemy team off the or like away from contesting the Baron. Doesn't look like they were going to contest it anyway though. Just going to keep picking up this farm. Actually really impressed by the CS in this game. 233 at 21, and to reiterate guys for like the 1,000th time, I really don't think this is anything like, he hasn't done anything like too different, you know. It is impressive and it's really well played, but once again, it's like fundamentals executed to a really, really high level creates these kind of insane leads. Like look at him and Talia right now. Like this Talia solo killed him in lane. Like think about that. This Talia honestly played the lane phase quite well, but she was like poor in so many other areas, and that's led to him having a 4-level lead and a 100 CS lead at only 22 minutes. Pretty insane if you ask me in fundamental difference. Obviously some of that lead is going to be because like Talia can't farm the side lane as easily now because the team's so far behind, but even early in the game he was up like 40 CS, right? Yeah, it was something like that. It was pretty crazy anyway. It looks like the game is pretty much over here. Yep, okay. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. To kind of summarize again and like what I think you guys should take away, I think I talked maybe about like 5 or 6 minutes about what I think the important things are to look for in the roam. So it was like jungle position, sums, like wave, etc. You can go back and look at it. I think that's really, really important. Honestly, I am going to come out with a full like roaming guide eventually, but I think that'll kind of like tie you over until then. And honestly, if you're like practicing it and you can't remember, I would actually just like stick a sticky note to your computer or like put it on your other monitor or something to help kind of learn the checklist and internalize it until it becomes normal. Another thing that I really want you guys to take away is that such an important part of roaming and playing roaming champions is keeping your CS high. I see so many people, even in high-low, with just like an insane amount of pressure on the map. You know, they're doing a lot of stuff, but then they just have no CS, and that just means if the game goes longer than like 15 minutes, they're just completely useless. Like straight up, it's like if the game doesn't end at 15 minutes from their like 10 crazy roams, they just lose. And there's a lot of people like that, and actually I was inspired by a person I played against today that played like that, and it was just wow. Like this guy, he was like 250 LP, right? And he was playing like mechanically really well, and he was just making the dumbest roaming decisions, had no CS. It was just kind of sad to see actually, because I feel like it's an easy thing to fix in my opinion, or maybe not easy if it's like become your play style, but it's like a simple thing to fix, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's the right word. Simple thing to fix, and it can yield like really large returns if you get good at farming or balancing farming and roaming, I guess. But anyway guys, I won't go on for too long. That's it, I guess. Yeah, if you have any questions about the video, go ahead and drum below. Go ahead and like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.